Hi, dear. How are you? I can't remember your real name. I just call you Sparrow in my heart. And I know that's just a sweet, sweet thing. But I thought I would try to start reading only to you. So hopefully I've set this up right so that it just goes to you. And I think I have. So my book is all worn down because I got it uh, at a used bookstore. So let's read. Let me start reading to you. Eagle's wings to the higher places. Yes. So, Lord, I just ask that you would give me a voice that is soothing to my dear sister and not grating, and that I will read and get inspiration from you and share it with my dear sister, if so. And otherwise, I hope that you will give and pray that you'll give her inspiration, even in the smallest things, as I read to her. I've always said that we could read the phone book, and you, Lord, could give your wonderful, wonderful insight into even names. So let's see. It's not in all one piece, it's in 3 or 4 pieces. The first chapter, and you may have read the book already, but it's okay. I'll start anyway. So, at school in the low places is the first one. And first, she starts with a poem, which I love the poems. And it says, I heard the call, come follow. Earth's joys grow dim. They grew dim. My soul went after him. I rose and followed. That was all. Will you not follow if you hear him call? And so I'll tell you about a vision I had many years ago. I was standing in the vision, I was standing beside a river in grass, lush green grass, about at least a foot tall. Excuse me. And it was it really personified his safety, his blessing, his peace to me. It was a good place to be. No reason to leave, but I heard from the river, I heard the call of the Lord. I heard the call of my beloved, his voice calling me. And I jumped in the river immediately. No thinking about it. I jumped after him. That's my beloved speaking to me, calling out to me. And as soon as I jumped into the river, I was going at breakneck speed. I was in up to my neck, going. And, it looked like I couldn't see very far ahead. And it even looked like there might be a waterfall, right, coming up, which reminds me of Heinz Feet on High Places, and all the other books about the waterfall. And then the vision ended. But just as Hannah Hernard, described the water coming to the lip of the descent, the waterfall, they just gave it all. They gave it all to him, trusted him, and leapt over that precipice in joy. So, Lord, let it be the same way with the two of us, that we don't hesitate, that our joy is following you and following the call of the Lord. So, chapter 1 says, at school in the low places. This is the story of Alethea, the daughter of grace and glory and fearless witness. about whom you may have read in Hinds' Feet on High Places and Mountains of Spices. Grace and Glory and Fearless Witness had lived on the high places with the King of Love until he called them to work with him by following him down to the dark, dark places in the valleys far below, in order to persuade the poor, miserable people who lived there in the darkness to follow them up to the glorious kingdom of light and love on the high places above. For a number of years, they did this happy, though difficult work, with the utmost joy in the service of the King, whom they both loved so passionately. When to their joy they became the parents of a little daughter, they gave her the beautiful name of Aletheia, which means love of truth. A little bit of both of them, of grace and glory and fearless witness. While they were down in the valleys with the King of Love, they entrusted her to tender care of their friends on the high places, although they returned at intervals to their lovely home on the mountains to be with their little daughter. Aletheia's early childhood was ideally happy, living on the high places of God's love and truth and playing in the king's gardens with the other little children of the king's helpers, and experiencing nothing but love and kindness. Each day seemed to shine golden with joy from the moment that the sun touched the gleaming white peaks of the still higher places above them, until the moment those peaks flushed rosy pink with the evening alpine glow, and the stars came out one by one, glittering like jewels in the velvety darkness. And it was time to go to bed, ready to wake to another joyful morning after the night's peaceful sleep. I'll interject here. Tonight's going to be a night on the 10th of August where I think 5 planets are going to align all in a line, and you'll be able to see them in the night sky from I don't know how many places, but I heard that today. I can't see it from where I am in the valley. I live in the valley, but my heart is in the high places. So continuing. Oh, how the little child Aletheia loved those white, shining peaks towering up heavenwards around her home. Every day she would steal away alone to some quiet spot, look up at them with rapture, and lift her little arms with the passionate longing that they would, by some beautiful enchantment, become wings. And then she could mount up and fly away to the shining heights, which day after day, and even in her dreams, seemed to be beckoning to her and calling to her in a glorious unknown tongue to come to them, kind of like what I heard from the river calling me. She simply could not understand how her mother and father could keep leaving those beautiful gardens on the high places in order to go down to the dismal, dark valleys so far below. Aletheia herself could hardly bear to look down into those gloomy depths into which it seemed the sun never shone. The valleys were so narrow and hemmed in by steep precipices, such dreary and lonely looking places, where surely no one who loved the light and the high places could bear to live. This is what she thought. Grace and Glory knew how much her little daughter loved the distant white peaks towering heavenwards around their home, and told her that they belonged to a yet higher shining world of God's love and goodness and truth. Aletheia herself had been named after them in the hope that she would love the highest truth wherever she could see it shining above her, and would always respond to the beckoning call to rise and go farther on and higher up. Because God is a vast world and universe of love, reaching far beyond the sky itself, and always calling us to higher and more beautiful glories of truth and love and goodness than can be experienced on the less high levels below. Then why do you and Daddy keep going down to the low places in those horrid dark valleys? Asked little Alethea wonderingly. Her mother laughed and then said tenderly, "You see, darling, in order to be able to reach and live on those high, lovely places where we are now, your father and I had to live down in those low places, go through things, and gradually escaping and going higher. Go down into the school in the valley." Just a minute, I skipped something. And gradually develop hinds feet. That's where it should be. Yes, we do develop those gradually, don't we? And we often develop them going through hard times, hard things. But it's all for the good, because we can skip and jump and follow the King, the Shepherd. Let's go on. Then we became able at last to bound up and down these mountain slopes like the wild hinds and gazelles. And that involved quite a long and difficult process, my darling. She was silent and thoughtful for a moment, going back in memory and reliving that whole tremendous experience of developing hinds feet. But now we believe the time is soon coming for us to leave these high places and to rise and go farther on and higher up to those shining ranges of peaks towering up heavenwards beyond us, those heights which you love to look at and which seem to beckon and call to you with such beautiful voices. But in order to reach those places, it's not enough to have hinds feet, but eagle's wings. And those, my darling little daughter, can only be developed by going down to the dark places in the valleys below to tell the poor people there about these lovely first high places, and to try to persuade them to follow us up here too. Now, this is where I differ a bit. I think as we are who we are in front of others, not striving to convince them, but just letting his love flow through us, that will do a lot. And then when it's time to speak, he will tell us. This we have been doing as our beloved King has told us to do for a number of years. Now he's telling us that the time has come for us to rise on eagle's wings to that shining, still more beautiful world of love above here. Again, she was silent for a moment and then added with a very special gentleness and tenderness, "Remember, Alethea, my little daughter, if you too want to be able to rise and reach those beautiful beckoning heights and join us there, you will have to go down into the dark, low places and develop first hinds feet, and then later on eagle's wings also. And don't be afraid to do it, for the dear King himself will help you, and be with you as he has been with us. It's hard for me to read these books without crying, but I know I have to speak. Alethea never forgot that talk with her mother, for it was one of the last times they were together. One day, very soon afterwards, Grace and Glory and Fearless Witness called her to them, and with the utmost love and gentleness told her that the time had come for them to go on to those higher places. It was also the wise and loving will of the king that Alethea was to go to boarding school down in one of the valleys until she would be old enough to develop hinds feet and eagle's wings herself and be able to follow them to that shining world above. On hearing this news, Alethea began to sob with sorrow and consternation, the first tears she had ever shed. She felt as though her heart would break. Then she felt her mother's loving arms around her and her voice saying comfortingly, "Darling, you must not be sad, but be glad instead. It is all for the best." It's hard to read. She said, "If you stayed here, you would..." I have to stop crying a little bit. I didn't expect this to happen. Then one by one, you would find all your friends called away until you were left there quite alone, with all the joy and happiness and love departed from your life, and no means of escaping and going higher. That's what happens if we refuse to be changed. Go down into the school in the valley, then as the king bids you do. But Alethea, my darling, down there, never, never forget those glorious, shining higher places which you have seen. It may be difficult to remember them down there where you won't be able to see them, but keep reminding yourself about them. Remember, they are your real home, the higher places of truth and goodness and love. You are named love of the truth on purpose, so that you will constantly be reminded to respond to yet higher truths whenever you become able to see them. Then, when your school days come to an end, let nothing hinder you from starting out to reach those shining heights above. Never live or settle down anywhere, my darling, in any place where you can't see higher heights above you. Always leave such a place and set out to find yet higher places and press towards them, for only so will you develop eagle's wings and be able at last to reach your real homeland and be with us again. Then Fearless Witness took his little daughter on his knee and said with the utmost tenderness and with a great and comforting joy in his voice, "And you must never forget, Alethea, that whenever you see higher places of truth and goodness and love, you must always share what you have seen with others. For if you do not, then the beautiful beckoning vision will fade, and you will lose it altogether and go farther. You see, we're called to become those things, not to be searching after them all the time. And when you've become it, you will exude it. And then when you speak, it will be done. Always keep open to new light, my little daughter, he said, and always share it with others, no matter how difficult and costly it may seem to do. For light shared brings more light, but light rejected and hidden brings darkness. So see, share yourself is what I would say, and let his light shine. It's a letting, not a doing. Never stay behind when the voice of God calls you, for if you do, you'll find that your summer will end, and all your joys and treasures will wither and fade away, leaving only winter and coldness and terrible loneliness and darkness. But follow the light and rise and join us on the still higher places with us. Then they kissed her goodbye and committed her to the love and care of the great shepherd of the little children, and went their way with the King of Love to the still higher places. And Alethea saw them no more. She had only dimly understood the meaning of what they had said, but their words remained like precious seed sown in her memory, ready to bring forth glorious fruit in due season. That's the way these things of heaven, these things of God are. They're eternal. So we can always recall them. And when we recall them, the anointing that was there when they first happened, when they first were shown to you, can be accessed again, because they are eternal and they are filled with the anointing, which is his presence. Two of the king's friends took the sorrowful and weeping little girl down to the school in the valley where the king had decreed that she was to spend the next years of her life. And he left her there. Oh, how terribly she missed her lovely home on the high places, the fresh, pure mountain air, the sound of the streams running merrily through the fields and gardens, singing to themselves as they ran, and the deep, distant roar of the mighty waterfall of love pouring down from the high places in an ecstasy of self-giving to the low places far below, just as her parents had done in their service for the king. But most of all, she missed and pined for a glimpse of those shining, still higher places, the peaks of the homeland of her heart's desire. Night after night, she wept herself to sleep with almost unbearable pangs of homesickness and longing. It seemed to her that she would never know happiness again. At first, she dreamed of the mountains every night. I'm sorry, I'm hoarse. Well. Thank you, Lord. You've given me a voice. She felt like a stranger in a foreign country and didn't realize that this was really the lovely, rich blessing bequeathed to her by her parents. You see, the dark, dreaded valley is the bequeathed blessing of grace and glory and fearless witness. I don't know what I'm going to do about my voice here. And she would never be able to find real satisfaction and joy until she reached them too, those higher places. As the years passed, she grew more and more unhappy and lonely in the valley, but did not realize why. She no longer dreamt of the mountains and only dimly remembered her golden childhood in the king's gardens on the high places. But she never felt at home in the valley, unable to make friends at the school, and became more and more solitary. Once, when she was about 14 years old, she had a very vivid dream, which made a lasting impression upon her. She could never forget it, though it filled her with an aching sorrow every time she remembered it. She dreamt that she had wandered away from the school grounds, lonely and miserable as usual, and that she was looking for someone to show her a path or a way back to the king's gardens on the high places. Then suddenly she saw her mother and father leaping and bounding up the rocky, precipitous sides of the valley with the chief shepherd himself. In her dream, she saw once again his face, the most beautiful and loving face in the world, looking down at her tenderly and lovingly, as she had so often seen him as a tiny child. With a pang of despair, she knew at last what it was she was really longing for and seeking so passionately to find: the chief shepherd himself, to be her guide and helper. She stretched out her arms to him beseechingly, begging him to take her with him back to the high places. But just as she ran towards him in her dream, he vanished, and she found herself back at the gates of the school. A group of girls her own age were standing there talking together in an unusually subdued way. There was a strange look on their faces, and she asked them what had happened. They told her that someone known as the Great Shepherd had been to the school, had visited with them, and had just left and gone away. "Left and gone away," cried Alethea, feeling as though her heart would break with pain and longing to see him again and to go with him wherever he might lead her. "He came while I was away and has left? Oh, tell me, which way did he go? I must go after him. I must find him." The girls looked at her curiously, but no one spoke. Then one of them pointed silently, and Alethea saw a little narrow path, hedged in with cruel-looking thorn trees and strewn with sharp nails and jagged flinty stones. It led, so it seemed, far, far away, out onto a wild, rock-strewn hillside. When she saw this, she burst into a passionate cry of grief and despair, and sobbed, "Did he really go that way? That dreadful way?" Boy, you and I know that. What a dreadful way. "Oh, I dare not. I cannot follow him along such a path as that." Oh, I want to go back to the beautiful high places where I lived as a little child. I want to follow him back there to that beautiful life where everything was so happy and perfect, not to follow him along a cruel path like that. Oh, if only he had stayed here and I could have begged him to take me back to the beautiful lost life of the high places, but he's gone. And I can't follow him all alone on that dreadful path. Poor Alethea, with her passion for the high places and her fear and dread of the suffering and difficulties on the way up to them. Just like her mother's fear so long before. It's a generational curse. For before they developed hinds feet and reached the high places of the kingdom of love, both her parents had been shown the way up there by two great veiled companions, sorrow and suffering. Moreover, her parents had both been members of the fearing clan down in the valley of humiliation, and before they reached the high places, her mother's name had been Much Afraid, and her father's name Craven Fear. And there was still something of the inherited fear in their daughter. That's that generational thing, a familial spirit. There was still something of the inherited fear in their daughter, struggling with her passionate longing for the high places. Alethea never forgot that dream and the bitter, poignant despair that had filled her heart on discovering that the great shepherd had actually been there while she was away. She had lost the chance to follow him because of her dread of the thorn and nail strewn path along which he had gone. After that, she dreamed no more of the high places, nor of her childhood home, and she grew lonelier than ever. That's chapter 1. It's quite a lot in there, isn't there? Yes. And next week I'll read you The Mountaintop City. If I could find a poem that I read about the summer, we were reading about the summer going, and she didn't want it to leave. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I wrote this in the summer of 1992. I was in my, 52, 62, 72, 82, 92, and I was 40. The finch outside my window is eating blackberries. The trees are full of plums, but their leaves are turning yellow. There is a dark gray mist floating in the sky. The breeze is cool and it begins to rain. Autumn is approaching, but my summer has not yet come. My summer never comes. How can I face another winter, Lord? My heart aches for summer joys, sunny warmth, laughter, and love. But my song is the descant of winter, sung in a minor key. I wait summer after summer for thy promised joy. Yet you fashion me in winter drear, and you are here in winter too. You can be my dear. Breathe in me your fiery love that melts away the dross, that I may radiate the warmth of thy love, counting not the cost. Oh, love that will not let my summer come. When will my heart ache for you? Guess I was a poet in those days. Well, dear, I'll say goodbye for now, and God willing, I'll read chapter 2 if you want. Let me know if you want to. If you've already read it and you've got it good, it's tied up like a bow, then that's fine. I won't feel bad at all. But if it blesses you and you want me to, I'll read it to you. Love you, dear. God bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. Bye-bye.